So people always want to know, how long does it take to see results from SEO? Now the boring answer is that there's no one length of time that it takes to rank. And that's because your SEO depends on a variety of factors like your current SEO, your niche, your target keywords, your budget, the quality of your website, your competitors, and some other minor factors. But just because predicting how long it will take to see SEO results is complicated, that doesn't mean that we don't have tools at our disposal that can help us make better predictions. Today, I'm breaking down how as SEOs we are able to influence Google rankings and how we can use this knowledge to better predict how long it will take to see SEO results for a given campaign. Now, make sure to stick around till the end because I'm actually going to show you some real examples of my clients and how long it took them to get results. Let's get started. So understanding how you can influence Google rankings is essential if you want to be able to make accurate SEO predictions. Since you can't actually control Google, as an SEO you instead have to rely on your ability to manipulate factors of your website in order to indirectly influence Google's rankings. The two most important factors are relevance and authority, and mastering these are essential to becoming a successful SEO. Let's start off by looking at relevance. Simply put, relevance is all about making sure that you have the right content to rank for a target keyword. Google only shows people content that it has decided is a good fit for a given search query. The algorithm has already made up its mind on what this content needs to include. So as an SEO, your job is to make sure that you have the perfect content for that target keyword. For example, if you wanted to rank for the keyword personal injury lawyer Tampa, then you would need to have this kind of blog article. And it would also have to satisfy the algorithm's criteria for that content. When you give Google the exact content that it wants to show people for a particular keyword, you satisfy Google's relevance criteria and complete the first necessary step of ranking on Google. So, you have great content, but you still aren't ranking. This is where most DIY SEOs get stuck. That's because once you have relevant content, your next step is making sure that your content has enough authority to satisfy Google's authority criteria for your decided keyword. You can think of authority as trust. Google usually has dozens, if not hundreds of different pieces of content that it could show to users for any given keyword. So a big part of Google's job is actually weeding through all of that content and finding the most valuable and reliable resources to share with its users. Google takes its job very seriously, but since Google is an algorithm, not a human, it has to rely on certain measurable metrics to determine a piece of content's authority. These metrics include a variety of things like how long a website or page has been around, the number of backlinks, how much content you have on a given topic, the quality of referring domains, etc. But out of these, we found that creating lots of topically relevant content and quality backlinks every month consistently is the best way to influence authority. As a successful SEO, you need to know exactly which of these factors you can influence and how to influence them for maximum results. Okay, now for the most important part. How can you actually use this information to be able to determine when you can expect to see results? Here's how. Step 1, make sure that you have the right content. This is essential because without the right content, you will never rank. Step 2, figure out how much authority it will take to reach your goals. Some good questions to ask include, how competitive are your target keywords? What are their keyword difficulties? Look at your competitors. How many referring domains do they have? How many backlinks do they have? How much content do they have? Step 3, understand how much authority you already have. How much SEO have you done in the past? How much relevant content do you have? Is your website well established or new? How many keywords are you ranking for? How many high quality backlinks do you have? Step 4, assume at least 4 to 6 months and add extra time if you still need to build more authority for your desired keywords. Step 5, don't get discouraged. It's important to continue building authority consistently until you start seeing results. You often won't see any movement until you build up a certain level of authority. That's why it's helpful to work with experienced SEO professionals, because they can keep you on track while navigating this initial phase when you are still not getting any feedback from Google. At the end of the day, the only way to get really good at predicting seeing results is by seeing it happen over and over again. So to finish things off, I want to show you a few examples of my own campaigns and how long it took us to see our desired results.
Hey, so here I have 3 very different campaigns that I'm going to use to show you some of the differences we can expect when looking at the time that it takes to see results. So this first example is actually for an e-commerce website that sells a sport product online. Now I like this example because it demonstrates a scenario that occurs pretty often, that basically is when you have a website that's well established and has all of the pieces that you would consider would be good for ranking quickly, but for some reason it doesn't rank very quickly. So you can see here, when we started this campaign around January, this website had already been around for over 4 years, and as you can see, when you look at the traffic over here, it had a decent number of keywords, it had had pretty consistent traffic for many years, and the traffic value had also remained the same. So it had been around, well established, had a good number of keywords, but for some reason it's just been stuck. Now initially, this is actually my campaign. I thought that this campaign would take somewhere around 6 months in order to start seeing results. Interestingly enough, it actually took about 11 months, almost 12 months, before we started seeing the meaningful increases that we were looking for. When it did finally take off though, it absolutely exploded. You can see here, the estimated organic traffic went from about 1,000 to 18,000. Keywords on the first page went from around 500 all the way up to over 1,500, and most importantly, the traffic value went from $380 to $5,600 of recurring traffic value every single month. Now, it might be interesting to think, why would a website that took 11 months in order to really take off have such great results? And upon reflection, the conclusion that we really came up with is that it had something to do with the fact that the referring domains and the domain rating and a lot of these trust metrics had slowly been decreasing over the course of several years, which is a pattern that I've seen sometimes where when you see this kind of situation where a lot of the key metrics are on a downward trend, sometimes it can take longer to really start moving the needle back upwards. Now, example number 2 is quite different. This was a well-established location-based business that serviced multiple areas in the car rental space. Now, this campaign had a very different trajectory. It was also very well established, but as you can see, when we started out, we almost started seeing an increase in total number of keywords, a steady increase in organic traffic, and traffic value almost immediately after starting. The real win for this campaign, though, occurred around months 9 through 10, where suddenly the number of keywords on the first page started to absolutely explode. You can see it happened right around this period here, resulting in a significant increase in traffic and in traffic value. Now, example number 3 is something that we encounter a lot as campaign managers at the HOTH. This client of mine had a brand new website in a pretty competitive space. As you can see, it took us around 9 months, all the way from December to August, before we were able to get any kind of meaningful increase or data at all. This stage is called the Sandbox, and it takes some time to build that initial authority in order to really get Google to even start ranking us for anything. This campaign also demonstrates another important point, which is that this client actually paused their SEO efforts shortly after August. In cases with new websites, it's usually better to err on the side of giving yourself some extra time after seeing those initial results. That way you can solidify your ranking as an authority and avoid big traffic dips like this.
There you have it, folks. If you have any questions or want to learn more about SEO, book a free strategy session with us by clicking the link below.